get your popcorn ready because this is going to be a fun one. Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin are set to face off again this Saturday as number 9 Alabama takes on number 11 Ole Miss in Oxford. And Nick Saban has done fairly well against Lane Kiffin, his former assistant, winning each of the last 2 meetings against Kiffin since he took over at Ole Miss. But with Alabama fresh off their LSU loss, with Ole Miss coming off a bye week and their SEC title hopes still alive, could the Rebels give Alabama their 3rd loss this season? That is what we are here to break down and predict today. So again, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country over there, guys, for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. Getting you a whole year's worth subscription, full 365 days for just $60. And you're going to win big time money as we are beating out over 80% of the national analysts and handicappers. So if you want guaranteed winnings, if you want transparency, if you want communication to give you money, this is the place for you. Check it out. The link for it down in the description below. So let's just go ahead and dive into this game, guys. I mean, it is pretty crazy to say number 9 Alabama, not number 1 or even anywhere in the top 4, number 9. Crimson Tide practically eliminated from college football playoff discussion with 2 losses. Ole Miss, guys, still in the hunt for an SEC title. They would need to obviously win out and hope that LSU loses one more game, whether that's to Arkansas this weekend or to A&M in the finale. But Ole Miss is still in the hunt. None of it will matter, though, if they can't take down Alabama. And you take a look at Alabama, guys, what to expect from them. What's the mentality going to be like? What's the mindset going to be like? Knowing that they can't win, most likely win an SEC title, can't make the playoff, or they're going to come motivated. And I think they will, especially offensively. You look at the offense, guys, they're loaded with talent, especially with Bryce Young, but it's evident that Bryce Young can't do all this by himself. He's thrown for over 2,200 yards, 19 touchdowns, just has 4 interceptions. He's leading an offense averaging nearly 42 points per game, over 280 passing yards per game. But he doesn't have much help around him. Last week, he accounted for 338 of the 465 yards they put up on LSU in that 1-point overtime loss, including a wild Houdini act where he escaped multiple potential sacks, fired the ball downfield, gave Alabama a late touchdown that many thought could have been a dagger in the game, and LSU just never wavered and ended up coming back and winning that game. He needs help. Maybe from a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who started slow but has 771 yards rushing on the year with 6 touchdowns. Also has 365 passing reception yards, although we thought he would have a little bit more than that, to be honest with you. Ja'Cory Brooks has 473 reception yards, is the number 1 wide receiver right now for Alabama, 5 touchdowns on the year. They have 9 players that have at least 100 reception yards, yet it still feels like Bryce Young is just trying to do everything by himself. And so he needs some big-time playmakers. He needs some weight taken off his shoulders, especially in a big game like this in Oxford. And take a look at Ole Miss. As expected, a very strong offense. You would expect nothing less from a Lane Kiffin-led team. 37.4 points per game on the year, 227 passing yards per game. The key number here, though, is the Rebels. We're averaging 267 rushing yards per game. This is a team that has one of the best rushing attacks in the country. And in years past, we have seen Ole Miss want to go pass heavy. We're seeing them want to go more run heavy this year. And why wouldn't you when you have a guy like Quinshon Judkins at running back? 1,036 yards, 13 touchdowns on the year for Judkins. He also has Zach Evans alongside him, the TCU transfer running back, 680 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Jackson Dart, their quarterback, is 3rd in rushing on the team with 473 yards. So, I mean, they are loaded with running back talent. They are loaded with just a great rushing attack, and that's how they're going to try to beat Alabama, is by popping them at the line of scrimmage, dominating up front, and creating holes for Judkins and Evans to run through. But if the run game gets stopped, Dart has proven he's more than capable. He's thrown for over 1,900 yards, 14 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Only a 2-to-1 touchdown-interception ratio. Not great, but solid. Relatively solid. The key here, obviously, is the defense for both teams. Both fantastic offenses. Alabama more so pass heavy, although they are averaging over 200 rushing yards per game. Ole Miss certainly more run heavy, but still averaging over 200 passing yards per game. But the key here is Ole Miss, guys, and their lone loss this year, the only loss Ole Miss has, was by 25 points on the road at LSU. And in that game, LSU took away the run. The Rebels only had 117 rushing yards in that game. They're averaging over 260. Can Alabama do that? Can Alabama shut down the Ole Miss run game? Right now, the Crimson Tide are only allowing 104 rushing yards per game, but they gave up 185 to LSU. They gave up 182 to Tennessee. So the two games that Alabama has lost, both of which were on the road, this one is now on the road, they gave up over 180 rushing yards. That's a problem. Alabama's defense has to make sure that Ole Miss is not balanced. They have to find a way to take away the ground game for Ole Miss and force Jackson Dart to win the game through the air. Alabama has the defensive line to pressure him. 29 sacks on the year for the Crimson Tide. They're giving up just 18.3 points per game. But if he has all the time in the pocket and the offensive line is continuously opening up holes for Judkins and Evans and occasionally Dart, who has proven he can escape the pocket, then Alabama is going to be in a big amount of trouble on Saturday. You got to stop the run. Dart is decent. I don't have faith in them winning a game solely through the air by himself. So Alabama has to take away the balance, and it starts by taking away the run game. Ole Miss, defensively, not too bad, but it should come with a disclaimer. The Rebels are giving up 21.6 points per game. Not a bad mark at all. Over 220 passing yards per game, over 155 rushing yards per game. Not a great match, not a great number there. Ole Miss, guys, is about to face arguably their toughest offensive test of the year. And they've played, 9 games? 9 games, and they're about to face their toughest offensive test of the year. The second closest would have been LSU, a game where Ole Miss lost by 25 points and allowed 500 yards to the Tigers, 248 through the air, 252 on the ground. Ole Miss hasn't played anybody. Cupcake schedule to start the year. Georgia Tech in the non-conference. Kentucky, big whoop, nothing too big there. Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Auburn. They haven't played anybody good. And even against Auburn, they were torched on the ground by Tank Bigsby. Ole Miss ended up winning that game by 14 because Auburn genuinely is so bad. So Ole Miss defensively is about to face one of their toughest tests. And if it's anything like the LSU game, they're going to get torched by Bryce Young in Alabama. So they have to find a way to play much better defense than against LSU. They're going to be hyped for this game, but find a way to, again, like Alabama, take away that balance and maybe force Alabama to try to win the game on the run. Alabama wants to force Ole Miss to win the game through the air. Ole Miss to try to force Alabama to win it solely with the ground game. Can they do it? Yes, I have a lot of faith in Jahmyr Gibbs, but obviously they want Bryce Young to do it all. Bryce Young is the go-to playmaker at all aspects. If you take him away and almost make him a non-factor, which is very hard to do, Alabama will struggle. Ole Miss has to find a way to do that, and I question if they will be able to do that with this being, again, the toughest test they've seen all year. So what's going to happen, guys, in Oxford? We play devil's advocate on both sides here. We're not siding with anybody yet. We're about to. What's going to happen in Oxford? The biggest storyline, obviously, in this game is how does Alabama respond? They're not used to being in a position like this. They're not used to being in a spot where in mid-November they have, some would say, nothing to play for. They're probably not going to make the SEC Championship unless some miracle happens, so probably not going to happen. They're out of playoff discussion with 2 losses in theory, so the best they can hope for is a decent New Year's Six type of bowl game, which for Alabama standards is a disappointing season. How does Alabama respond after that heartbreaking loss to LSU? I think they respond with a vengeance. I think they respond in a big way. I don't see Nick Saban allowing his team to lose focus and drop a 3rd game of the year. That'd be unreal, unimaginable. It happens, but it would be unimaginable. And I look at Ole Miss, guys. I think they're ready. I think Lane Kiffin has his team hyped. I think this game is close for a while. I genuinely do. But I think ultimately Alabama wears down the Rebels. Again, a team that I think has been overhyped, overrated, overranked all year long solely due to the fact of their very favorable first half of the schedule. First 7 games have been easy, guys. Very easy. Ole Miss, guys, 2 wins currently. 2 wins over teams with a record above 500. One of those is Troy out of the Sun Belt. The other is Kentucky, who's just 6-3. Everybody else, below 500 currently for wins. Ole Miss, guys, has an opportunity to prove me wrong, prove they deserve to be ranked 11th, and deserve to be ranked higher than that if they can beat Alabama. But I don't think they do it. I think Nick Saban still has Lane Kiffin's number. The Crimson Tide roll on Saturday. It means nothing for the West. It means nothing for the playoff picture. But Alabama does get a win and maybe quells and shuts up some doubters, at least for a little bit. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. You want to win some big money? You want to beat out over 80% of the national analysts and handicappers? You join our nation, our GE Nation, down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.